Millionaire tech mogul Jason Sterling handed his platinum card to a woman who looked like she'd lost everything. Hours later, the weight of it all crashed down, and he wept. From Wall Street prodigy to billionaire by 35, Jason had conquered the financial world. Penthouse views, tailored suits, the roar of a Ferrari hustle. He had it all. Yet a cavernous emptiness echoed in his soul, a void no acquisition could fill. One bleak Manhattan afternoon, after a grueling merger meeting, Jason found himself wandering far from his usual gilded cage, drawn by a morbid curiosity to the city's underbelly. He ended up in the Lower East Side, a stark contrast to his polished Upper East Side life. Graffiti-scarred walls, overflowing bins, faces etched with hardship. It was a world he usually sped past in his tinted limo, a world he preferred to ignore. But today, something compelled him forward, a pull he couldn't explain. Then he saw her, huddled in a doorway on Rivington Street, clothes ripped, hair a tangled mess, a woman staring blankly at the cracked pavement. She was maybe early 30s, but life had aged her beyond her years. As Jason walked by, a flicker of something familiar sparked in his memory. He stopped, reversed a few steps, a knot tightening in his stomach. He knelt beside her, the crisp fabric of his Brioni suit brushing against the grimy concrete. "Excuse me," he murmured, his voice surprisingly gentle. "Are you okay?" Slowly, agonizingly slow, the woman lifted her head, and Jason's breath hitched. It was her. Sarah. Sarah Miller. His Sarah. Childhood Sarah, the girl with the infectious laugh and eyes that held the summer sky. Sarah, his best friend, his confidant, vanished without a trace after high school. He'd searched, half-heartedly at first, then life, ambition, and the relentless climb to the top had swallowed his efforts. Sarah? The name escaped his lips, a choked whisper of disbelief. She looked at him, those once vibrant eyes now dull, weary. She recognized him. A flicker of something, recognition, pain, maybe even a ghost of a smile, touched her lips. But she said nothing. The silence was thick, pregnant with unspoken years, a chasm of lost time and broken dreams. Jason's mind reeled. What to say? Memories flooded him. Treehouse forts, whispered secrets under starry skies, promises of forever friendship, a pact to conquer the world together, a lifetime ago, another life. He was Jason Sterling, titan of industry. She was this. Sarah simply observed him, her gaze steady, unnervingly calm. She saw the Armani suit, the Patek Philippe watch, the aura of untouchable wealth that radiated from him. Pride, a stubborn, fierce pride, clamped her tongue. She wouldn't beg. She'd weathered storms Jason couldn't fathom, navigated a darkness he'd never glimpse. Seeing him, a monument to success, only underscored the gulf that separated their realities. Yet, in his eyes, she saw something else. Not pity, not disgust, not the casual dismissal she'd grown accustomed to. Concern. Genuine concern. Maybe, just maybe, he saw beyond the grime and the despair. Jason, adrift in a sea of emotions, acted impulsively. He pulled out his wallet, his fingers fumbling slightly, and extracted his Platinum American Express card. Without a word, he pressed it into her hand, his fingers brushing hers. Still familiar, yet so different. "Here," he managed, his voice thick. "Buy whatever you need. I trust you." The gesture was so unexpected, so utterly out of sync with the cold, calculating world he inhabited, that Sarah froze. She stared at the card, the sleek plastic rectangle representing unimaginable purchasing power, then back at Jason, his face a mask of conflicted emotions. Gratitude warred with shame, a bitter cocktail in her gut. Money wasn't the answer. Charity felt like a further humiliation. But for a fleeting, desperate moment, she saw it for what it was. A lifeline, a flicker of human kindness in the abyss. Wordlessly, she closed her fingers around the card. Jason stood, still reeling from his own impulsive act. He knew there was a story here, a tragedy unfolding in front of him, but the enormity of it was overwhelming. He felt a desperate urge to help, to rewind time, to erase the years that had led Sarah to this doorway. But how? As Sarah melted into the anonymous flow of the city, swallowed by the crowds on Delancey, Jason stood rooted to the spot, the Lower East Side grit clinging to his expensive shoes. What had happened to her? How did a bright, vibrant girl end up like this? And why did a gnawing sense of responsibility, a deep-seated guilt, twist in his gut? Questions clawed at him, unwelcome intruders in his meticulously ordered world. This chance encounter, this act of impulsive generosity, was the first crack in Jason's carefully constructed facade, the initial tremor of an earthquake that would shake his life to its foundations. He didn't know it yet, but this fleeting reunion with Sarah was the opening act of his own redemption story, a journey that would force him to confront not only his past, but the hollow core of his carefully crafted success. That night, the opulent comfort of his penthouse apartment felt suffocating, alien. Sleep eluded him. Sarah's image burned behind his eyelids, a ghost from a life he'd buried beneath layers of ambition and acquisition. Childhood memories, long dormant, resurfaced with painful clarity. Stolen afternoons in Central Park, whispered dreams under the summer stars, promises of unbreakable friendship. Sarah had been his anchor, his confidant, the only person who truly saw him, the real him, beneath the driven exterior. And now, this. Lying in his king-sized bed, surrounded by the trappings of unimaginable wealth, Jason felt a profound disconnect. He had conquered the world, amassed a fortune beyond measure, yet he was bankrupt in the currency that truly mattered, human connection. Sarah was a living, breathing testament to that loss. How had her life veered so drastically off course? And why, with all his resources, had he never even tried to find her? The morning sun, painting the Manhattan skyline in gold, offered no solace. Shaken, restless, Jason plunged into the relentless grind of his work, hoping to bury Sarah's ghost under a mountain of spreadsheets and conference calls. His schedule was a brutal ballet of meetings, negotiations, and power lunches, a carefully orchestrated chaos designed to keep the emptiness at bay. But amidst the frantic energy, Sarah's haunted face persisted, a phantom limb aching in his soul. He tried to focus on the billion-dollar deals, the intricate dance of global finance, but the hollowness inside him was more pronounced, more insistent than ever. Jason couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter wasn't some random city moment, a fleeting brush with urban sadness. It felt deliberate, a cosmic collision orchestrated for a reason he couldn't yet grasp. As the hours crawled by, a nagging curiosity gnawed at him. What had Sarah done with the credit card? He didn't expect her to max it out, not Sarah, but still, a tremor of anxiety ran through him. Driven by an uneasy premonition, Jason logged into the online account linked to the platinum card. What he saw stopped him cold. Sarah had used the card. Once. At a tiny hole-in-the-wall deli on Essex Street. The charge, $8.79, a simple sandwich, nothing more. Jason stared at the transaction, his breath catching in his throat. He'd expected... what? A shopping spree at Bloomingdale's, a desperate grab for everything she'd been denied. Instead, Sarah had chosen sustenance, a basic human need, a meal, a fleeting moment of normalcy in her shattered existence, something he, in his gilded world, took for granted every single day. The simplicity of the act, the stark humility of her choice, hit Jason with the force of a physical blow. It wasn't charity Sarah wanted. It wasn't luxury. It was dignity. A recognition of her basic human worth, and in that moment, Jason understood the profound inadequacy of his impulsive gesture. The credit card, the symbol of his immense wealth, was meaningless in the face of Sarah's real need. He'd offered a financial band-aid for a gaping wound that went far deeper. This revelation shifted something fundamental within Jason. For years, he'd chased money, accumulated possessions, convinced they were the keys to happiness, to security, to something. But staring at that $8.79 deli charge, he saw the lie for what it was. True wealth wasn't about balance sheets or stock options. It was about human value, about the impact he could have, about the lives he could touch. A resolve hardened in Jason's chest. He couldn't walk away. He couldn't let Sarah vanish back into the shadows. He had to do more. Not out of guilt, not out of some misplaced sense of obligation, but because something deep within him, something buried beneath layers of ambition and cynicism, was stirring to life. He didn't just want to help Sarah survive. He wanted to help her reclaim her life, the life they had once dreamed of, a life of dignity, of purpose, of possibility. Driven by this nascent purpose, Jason began to formulate a plan, a real plan, not just a fleeting act of charity. He had resources, contacts, influence, a vast arsenal at his disposal. He could change Sarah's reality, but he knew he couldn't do it alone. Sarah had to be a partner in this, willing to accept help, to fight for her own recovery. That was a choice only she could make. As he wrestled with these thoughts, Jason realized this wasn't just about rescuing a friend from the past. It was about rescuing himself. It was an opportunity to find a purpose larger than himself, a meaning beyond the relentless pursuit of wealth. He'd always believed material success would fill the void, but now, staring into the abyss of Sarah's life, he saw the truth. True success lay in impact, in connection, in the lives he could touch. That night, Jason returned to the Lower East Side. He didn't know if he'd find Sarah, but he had to try. A desperate hope flickered within him, a fragile belief that this chance encounter was the first step towards something transformative, not just for Sarah, but for himself as well. The narrow, dimly lit streets felt alien, menacing, a far cry from the manicured perfection of his usual haunts. Anxiety gnawed at him. What if she didn't want his help? What if she rejected him again, dismissing him as just another wealthy do-gooder? He searched for hours, his expensive car a stark anomaly, parked amidst the beat-up sedans and overflowing trash cans. Finally, in a darkened alleyway, huddled under the meager shelter of a ripped awning, he saw her. Sarah. She was eating, slowly, deliberately, what looked like the same simple sandwich from the deli. Jason approached cautiously, his heart pounding a nervous rhythm against his ribs. "Sarah?" he called softly, his voice barely above a whisper, afraid to shatter the fragile quiet. She looked up, her eyes mirroring the weariness of the street, but this time, a flicker of something new sparked within them. Curiosity, perhaps, or maybe just resignation. I saw what you did," Jason stammered, searching for the right words. Words that wouldn't sound patronizing. Words that would convey the depth of his sudden, overwhelming desire to help. "And I want to help for real. Not just with money, but with something that can give you back the dignity you deserve." Sarah remained silent, her gaze fixed on his face, searching for hidden motives, for the inevitable catch. Accepting help felt like a betrayal of her hard-won independence, a surrender to the pity she despised. But something in Jason's eyes, in the raw sincerity of his voice, chipped away at her defenses. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't charity. Maybe this was opportunity. After a long, agonizing pause, she spoke, her voice barely audible above the city's hum. I just want an opportunity." A wave of relief washed over Jason, so potent it almost buckled his knees. He'd offered a lifeline, and she'd grasped it. This simple request, an opportunity, resonated with a profound weight. Sarah wasn't asking for handouts or miracles. She wanted agency, a chance to reclaim her life, to earn her own dignity. And Jason knew with sudden, unwavering clarity that he was going to give it to her. "An opportunity," Jason echoed, the words resonating in the dimly lit alleyway. Relief mingled with a heavy sense of responsibility. Sarah's simple request was a monumental task, a challenge that dwarfed any billion-dollar deal he'd ever brokered. It wasn't just about finding her a job or a place to sleep. It was about rebuilding a life, brick by painstaking brick, restoring a shattered spirit. Driving back to his penthouse, the city lights blurring into streaks of color, Jason's mind raced. How do you give someone an opportunity? Money alone was a blunt instrument, insufficient, almost insulting. Sarah needed support, guidance, a safe haven to rebuild. This wasn't a quick fix, a one-time donation. It required a sustained commitment, a real investment, perhaps something far grander than he initially imagined. In the days that followed, Jason threw himself into planning, his business acumen now channeled towards a purpose that transcended profit margins. He envisioned a comprehensive rehabilitation and training program for the homeless, born from his desire to help Sarah but fueled by a deeper awakening. He saw a chance to leverage his wealth, his influence, for something truly meaningful, to address a systemic problem instead of just alleviating individual suffering. He assembled a team, social workers, therapists, job placement specialists, experts who understood the complex web of issues facing the homeless population. The concept took shape, a holistic program offering not just shelter and food, but job training, counseling, addiction support, and a path to self-sufficiency. He reached out to his network, to CEOs, philanthropists, influential figures, pitching his vision, seeking support, not just financial, but also mentorship, job opportunities, and a commitment to breaking the cycle of homelessness. The response was overwhelming. Many were moved by Jason's genuine passion, his transformation from ruthless businessman to compassionate advocate. Funding poured in, corporate partnerships materialized, and the program began to take concrete form. But for Jason, the most crucial element was ensuring Sarah would be the first beneficiary, the living embodiment of hope, a testament to the program's potential to transform lives. Weeks blurred into a whirlwind of meetings, site visits, and logistical nightmares. But finally, Jason was ready. He returned to the Lower East Side, to the familiar alleyway, his heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. He found Sarah under the awning, her face etched with the same weary resignation. But beneath the surface, he detected a flicker of something else, a fragile hope, perhaps. "Sarah," he began, a gentle smile softening his usually sharp features. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, and I want to give you more than just financial help. I want to give you a real opportunity to start over." He laid out his vision, the rehabilitation program, the comprehensive support network he'd created, his voice resonating with a quiet conviction. "I've built this program to help people in your situation, and I want you to be the first." Sarah listened, her eyes searching his, skepticism battling with a nascent, fragile hope. Years of broken promises, of fleeting gestures of charity that evaporated like morning mist had hardened her. She'd learned not to believe in easy answers, in sudden miracles. Yet, something in Jason's unwavering gaze, in the tangible plan he presented, resonated with a different kind of sincerity. Still, doubt lingered, a shadow clinging to her spirit. What if I can't do it?" she whispered, her voice barely audible, the fear of failure a constant companion. "I've tried so many times to start over, but I always end up back here." Jason moved closer, his hand resting lightly on her arm, a gesture of reassurance, of solidarity. "It's not about failing, Sarah," he said, his voice firm but gentle. "It's about trying. We all stumble, we all fall. The only thing that matters is getting back up. And this time," he emphasized, his eyes locking with hers, "you won't be alone. I'll be here. And there will be people, good people, who want to support you." He squeezed her arm gently. "Life's knocked you down countless times, Sarah, but I believe with every fiber of my being that with the right opportunity, you can rise again. You can build something new." Sarah looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time in years, a spark of hope ignited within her, a tiny ember glowing in the darkness. Not a guarantee of success, not a promise of easy answers, but something more profound. Belief. Someone, this man, Jason, believed in her, and maybe, just maybe, that was enough. With a barely perceptible nod, a subtle shift in her posture, Sarah accepted. It was a tentative step, a fragile commitment, but it was a start. And as Jason led her away from the alleyway, away from the shadows of the Lower East Side, towards the promise of a new beginning, he knew his own transformation was just beginning as well. Jason escorted Sarah to the program center, a converted warehouse in Brooklyn, transformed into a haven of warmth and possibility. Training rooms buzzed with activity, counseling offices offered quiet solace, and common areas pulsed with a nascent sense of community. Seeing it, Sarah's eyes widened, a flicker of disbelief in their depths. This wasn't charity, it was a lifeline, a tangible investment in her future. She'd never imagined anything like this, a space dedicated to lifting people out of the abyss. The initial days were a turbulent mix of hope and trepidation for Sarah. The ghosts of her past, the gnawing hunger, the bone-chilling cold, the dehumanizing stares still haunted her. Insecurities buried deep resurfaced, whispering doubts, threatening to sabotage her fragile progress. But the program's structure, the unwavering support of the staff, and Jason's constant presence created a safety net, a buffer against the familiar despair. Small victories became milestones. Learning new computer skills, mastering a craft, even sharing a meal with other participants without the weight of shame. Each achievement chipped away at the layers of self-doubt, revealing a flicker of the confident, vibrant girl Jason remembered. He, too, was undergoing a profound metamorphosis. Witnessing Sarah's slow, painstaking ascent, he felt a fulfillment that dwarfed any boardroom triumph. His meticulously constructed world of wealth and power now seemed hollow, a gilded cage compared to the raw, authentic connection he was forging with Sarah and the other program participants. Sarah, in turn, began to bloom. Her intelligence, her resilience, honed by years of street survival, shone through. She excelled in the training modules, her quiet determination inspiring others. The program wasn't just rehabilitating her, it was reigniting a spark, rekindling a spirit that had been dimmed but never extinguished. She wasn't just surviving, she was beginning to thrive. Jason, watching her flourish, understood that true success wasn't measured in dollars and cents, but in human potential realized, in lives transformed. The emptiness that had haunted him for years began to recede, replaced by a sense of purpose, of meaning, that resonated deep within his soul. He was finally, truly wealthy. Rich in connection, rich in compassion, rich in the profound satisfaction of making a real difference in the world. But both Jason and Sarah knew the journey was far from over. The road to redemption was long and arduous, paved with challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But for the first time in years, they were walking it together, side by side, their lives intertwined, their destinies inextricably linked. Despite the initial surge of progress, the path to transformation proved far more complex and nuanced than either Jason or Sarah had anticipated. The program, while meticulously designed and passionately implemented, was not a magic wand. For Sarah, the past was a relentless undertow, pulling her back towards the darkness she desperately sought to escape. For Jason, the weight of responsibility, the sheer scale of the challenge sometimes felt overwhelming. Sarah's journey was a roller coaster of highs and lows. One day, she'd be radiant, energized by a newfound skill, envisioning a future she dared not dream of before. The next, she'd be consumed by shadows, haunted by memories, the despair she'd carried for so long resurfacing with brutal force. The fear of failure, of relapsing, of proving herself unworthy of the second chance was a constant gnawing presence. Jason, too, grappled with his own demons. He'd launched this program with unwavering conviction, fueled by a desire to help Sarah and a newfound sense of purpose. But the complexities of social work, the deeply entrenched issues of poverty and homelessness, were far more intractable than any business challenge he'd ever faced. He questioned his own competence, his ability to truly make a difference. Seeing Sarah struggle, witnessing the pain and resilience of the other participants, he sometimes felt inadequate, ill-equipped for the profound human drama unfolding before him. One particularly difficult day, after a grueling therapy session that dredged up long-buried trauma, Sarah vanished. Panic seized Jason. He'd vowed to never abandon her again, and now she was gone. He mobilized the program staff. A frantic citywide search ensued. Hours later, he found her in Central Park, huddled on a bench overlooking the Bethesda Terrace, staring blankly at the shimmering water. He approached cautiously, sitting beside her in silence, the unspoken emotions hanging heavy between them, shared anxieties, mutual frustrations, the crushing weight of expectation. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Sarah broke the silence, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't know if I can do this," she confessed, her voice trembling, raw with vulnerability. "It all feels impossible, like I'm destined to fail again." Jason sighed, a deep, weary sound. He understood. He'd felt that same suffocating sense of inadequacy, that same fear of falling short. But he knew he couldn't let her succumb to despair. "Sarah," he said, turning to face her, his gaze intense, unwavering. "It's not about never failing. It's about getting back up. Every time you fall, you get back up. That's what matters. We all fall, Sarah. Me too." He admitted, a rare glimpse into his own vulnerabilities. "I have my fears, my doubts, but we're in this together. You're not alone." She looked at him, and for the first time, truly saw Jason, not as the invincible billionaire, but as a flawed, vulnerable human being grappling with his own uncertainties, his own fears. And somehow, that vulnerability, that shared humanity gave her a sliver of strength, a flicker of renewed resolve. Maybe she wasn't alone. Maybe she could keep fighting. "But I don't know how to move forward," she admitted, the despair clinging to her voice. "Every time I try, something pulls me back." Jason took a deep breath, searching for the right words that would resonate with her pain, with her resilience. "Life will always try to pull us back, Sarah," he said, his voice firm, laced with conviction. "Especially when we're trying to change. That's when we have to fight the hardest. That's when we have to be the strongest." He gently cupped her face in his hands, his gaze locking with hers. "You have so much to offer, Sarah. So much strength inside you. I believe in you. And I know, if you keep going, you will overcome this." His words, simple yet profound, ignited a tiny spark of hope in Sarah's heart. Not a magical solution, not an instant cure, but a lifeline, a source of encouragement she desperately needed. She knew the journey would be brutal, but for the first time in a long time, she felt she didn't have to face it alone. Jason, in turn, felt the weight of his own promise. He'd pledged to be there for Sarah, but he knew his help couldn't be just emotional. He had to commit fully, body and soul, to this transformative journey, both hers and his own. Their intertwined paths, fraught with challenges and uncertainties, stretched ahead, a testament to the power of human connection, the enduring strength of the human spirit, and the transformative potential of a single act of kindness. As time unfolded, the challenges remained relentless, but so did the signs of progress. Sarah, fueled by a newfound sense of purpose and the unwavering support of the program, began to flourish. She excelled in job training, her sharp intellect and innate drive pushing her forward. Small victories, once unimaginable, accumulated, completing courses, earning praise, building skills, each achievement a brick in the foundation of her rebuilt self-esteem. A self-esteem that had been eroded, almost obliterated by years of hardship and neglect. For Jason, witnessing Sarah's blossoming brought a profound sense of fulfillment, a deeper satisfaction than any financial triumph had ever provided. He'd chased material success, believing it held the key to happiness, but now he understood the true currency of life was human connection, compassion, and the quiet joy of witnessing another human being reclaim their worth. His life, once defined by balance sheets and bottom lines, was now measured in human stories, in lives touched, in hope restored. Sarah's transformation, however, was not a linear ascent. Moments of intense self-doubt, of crippling anxiety still surfaced, remnants of her deeply ingrained trauma. But now she had tools to navigate those dark waters. Therapy, support groups, a community of fellow travelers on the path to recovery. And, crucially, she had Jason, not as a savior, but as a steadfast friend, a partner in her journey. Surrounded by people who believed in her, Sarah began to envision a future that once seemed impossibly distant. A future of independence, of purpose, of belonging. The road ahead remained long, uncertain, but for the first time in years, she walked it with hope in her heart, and Jason by her side. As Sarah continued her journey of self-reconstruction, an extraordinary ripple effect began to spread outward. She, who had entered the program broken and lost, became a beacon of hope for others. Her quiet determination, her unwavering resilience resonated deeply with fellow participants, many of whom saw in her a reflection of their own struggles, and a testament to the possibility of change. Jason, watching Sarah's transformation, felt a profound sense of awe and gratitude. He remained a constant presence in her life, not as a benefactor dispensing charity from a distance, but as a friend, a confidant, walking alongside her, learning from her strength, inspired by her courage. Their conversations deepened, evolving beyond program logistics and rehabilitation strategies, delving into personal reflections, shared vulnerabilities, and a growing mutual understanding that transcended their vastly different backgrounds. He was learning as much from Sarah as she was from him, a humbling realization that shattered his preconceived notions of wealth, privilege, and human worth. True wealth, he was discovering, wasn't about accumulation, but about connection, compassion, and the transformative power of empathy. Despite her remarkable progress, a deep-seated insecurity still lingered within Sarah, a stubborn residue of years spent on the fringes of society, treated as invisible, unworthy. She'd internalized the judgment, the dismissal, the dehumanizing stares. Changing that deeply ingrained self-image was a daily, often agonizing struggle. Yet, her desire to break free from the shackles of her past, to build a new identity, a new future, burned brighter than her fears. The real turning point, the catalyst for a more profound shift in Sarah's self-perception, came unexpectedly. One morning, as she prepared for her day at the program, she received a visit from a local news crew. They were profiling the rehabilitation program, highlighting its success stories, and Sarah, as one of its most remarkable transformations, had been chosen for an interview. Initially, Sarah recoiled. Public scrutiny, the vulnerability of sharing her past with strangers, terrified her. But Jason, gently encouraging, reminding her of the impact her story could have, persuaded her to embrace the opportunity. In the interview, Sarah spoke with raw honesty, her voice trembling slightly at first, then gaining strength as she recounted her journey, the hardships of street life, the moments of utter despair, the unexpected encounter with Jason that had altered the trajectory of her life. But the most poignant moment, the one that resonated most deeply with viewers, was when she spoke of the credit card. When he gave me that card, Sarah's voice choked with emotion, tears welling in her eyes. I had the chance to buy anything. Luxury clothes, a fancy hotel room, anything my heart desired. But in that moment, I realized none of that mattered. All I truly wanted was a chance, an opportunity to start over. So, she paused, a soft smile touching her lips. I used it to buy a sandwich, because that's all I really needed. And more than that, I needed to prove to myself that it wasn't money that would save me, but the opportunity it represented. Sarah's words, imbued with humility, strength, and quiet wisdom, resonated deeply with viewers. The interview went viral, her story spreading across social media, transforming her overnight into an unlikely symbol of hope, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Jason, watching the interview, felt a profound sense of awe and gratitude. A simple, impulsive act of generosity, handing a credit card to a stranger, had ignited a chain reaction of transformation, touching not just Sarah's life, but countless others as well. The gesture, initially driven by instinct, now assumed a significance he could never have foreseen. This sudden public attention had a profound impact on Sarah's self-perception. For the first time, she began to believe she could truly shed the identity her past had imposed on her. The outpouring of support, the thousands of messages of encouragement from strangers, affirmed her worth, validated her struggle, and amplified her voice. She was no longer invisible, no longer dismissed. She was seen, heard, celebrated. Invitations poured in, speaking engagements, community events, opportunities to share her story, to advocate for the homeless. At one event, sharing the stage with other survivors of unimaginable adversity, Sarah's testimony drew a standing ovation, a wave of collective recognition that washed over her, validating her transformation, solidifying her newfound sense of purpose. It wasn't just external validation, it was an internal affirmation, a deep-seated knowing that her life, her story, had value, had meaning, had the power to inspire. Jason, always present, always supportive, watched Sarah's ascent with quiet pride, his heart overflowing with emotion. Reconnecting with Sarah had not just changed her life, it had irrevocably changed his. His definition of success, once confined to profit margins and market share, had been utterly redefined. True success, he now understood, was measured in impact, in compassion, in the ripple effect of kindness. But with the accolades, with the growing public profile, came new challenges. Sarah, thrust into the spotlight, felt the pressure of expectation, the weight of being a symbol, a role model. The vulnerability of sharing her past, of being constantly scrutinized, was both empowering and daunting. She knew her internal battles weren't over, that moments of self-doubt, of insecurity would still surface. But this time, she wasn't alone. She had Jason, she had the program community, she had the unwavering support of countless strangers who had been touched by her story. She was ready to face whatever came next, armed with newfound confidence, restored dignity, and a purpose that extended far beyond herself. Jason, reflecting on the improbable journey that had begun with a chance encounter on a Lower East Side street, felt tears prick his eyes. A simple act of impulsive generosity, a platinum credit card offered to a woman he barely recognized, had unleashed a chain of events that had not only transformed Sarah's life, but his own as well. He, who had embarked on this journey seeking to fill an inner void, now felt a sense of completeness, of purpose he'd never imagined possible. Their journey, he knew, was just beginning. And together, they were ready to face whatever lay ahead, their lives inextricably intertwined, their destinies forever linked. The impact of Sarah's story transcended the viral interview, echoing far beyond social media feeds. As her narrative of resilience inspired thousands, Jason and Sarah witnessed the burgeoning potential of their rehabilitation program. Initially conceived to aid a handful of individuals, it rapidly garnered attention from corporations, charities, and even government agencies. Jason, the pragmatic businessman, found himself increasingly immersed in the unfamiliar world of philanthropy and social advocacy. The training program, born from a desire to help Sarah, evolved into something far larger, a beacon of hope for the city's marginalized. Companies clamored to partner, offering job training and employment opportunities. Nonprofits proposed collaborations. Government officials explored avenues for support. The media, captivated by Sarah's transformation and Jason's unexpected pivot from corporate titan to social entrepreneur, continued to amplify their story. Yet, amidst the accolades and exponential growth, Jason and Sarah remained grounded, their focus unwavering. True success, they knew, wasn't measured in participant numbers or public praise, but in lives profoundly changed, in dignity restored, in opportunities genuinely created. The program's core mission remained steadfast, not just providing shelter and sustenance, but empowering individuals to reclaim their worth, to forge their own paths to self-sufficiency and purpose. Sarah, now a de facto ambassador for the program, became an invaluable bridge between the staff and new participants. She possessed an innate understanding of the fears, the anxieties, the deeply ingrained distrust that newcomers carried. Her own journey served as a living testament to the program's transformative power, her presence a source of encouragement and inspiration for those just beginning their arduous climb out of despair. One afternoon, during a program team meeting, Sarah was approached by a young woman named Marissa, a new participant, her face etched with the familiar weariness of someone worn down by hardship. Marissa's eyes, mirroring Sarah's own despair from months prior, held a mixture of hope and skepticism, a fragile yearning for change warring with deeply ingrained doubt. I heard your story, Marissa began hesitantly, her voice barely audible above the low hum of conversation, and I wanted to know, how did you manage not to give up? I'm trying, she confessed, her voice cracking with emotion, but it feels like I'm not strong enough. Sarah recognized the anguish in Marissa's eyes, the same paralyzing fear of failure that had once consumed her. With a gentle smile, she pulled up a chair beside Marissa, bridging the gap between mentor and mentee, survivor and seeker. I wasn't strong all the time, Sarah admitted, her voice soft but firm, laced with the quiet authority of lived experience. There were so many moments when I wanted to give up, when the darkness felt overwhelming. But what kept me going, she paused, her gaze locking with Marissa's, was believing that, despite everything, I deserved a second chance. And, she emphasized, her voice filled with conviction, realizing I wasn't alone. I had people by my side like Jason who believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Tears welled in Marissa's eyes, Sarah's words striking a chord deep within her soul. I want to believe that too, Marissa whispered, her voice trembling, but it's so hard. I know, Sarah nodded, understanding etched on her face. It is hard. But believe me, Marissa, every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer. Closer to the life you deserve. And you, Sarah affirmed, her voice filled with unwavering conviction, you have the right to fight for it, not for anyone else, but for yourself. That conversation, a quiet exchange in a bustling program center, marked another turning point for Sarah. She realized her own transformation was not an isolated event, but a catalyst, a spark igniting countless other journeys of recovery and self-discovery. The ripple effect, initiated by Jason's simple act of kindness, was expanding exponentially, creating a network of support, a community of hope, connecting individuals in their deepest struggles, offering not just resources, but something far more profound, meaning, purpose, and the unwavering belief in human potential. Jason, meanwhile, continued his own transformation, his priorities shifting, his values realigning. He was no longer the man driven solely by profit and acquisition. The experience of helping Sarah, of witnessing the profound impact of the program, had irrevocably altered his perspective. He dedicated more and more of his time, his energy, his vast resources to expanding the program, leveraging his business acumen to ensure its sustainability, its scalability, its long-term impact. He established new centers in other cities, always prioritizing dignity, empowerment, and a holistic approach to breaking the cycle of homelessness. The program's success brought accolades, recognition, and a constant stream of requests for expansion, for replication, for Jason's expertise. But for him, the true reward lay not in public praise, but in the quiet, individual stories of transformation he witnessed daily, the lives rebuilt, the spirits rekindled, the hope restored. Julia, now a powerful advocate for the homeless, continued her personal evolution, her journey far from complete. She embraced her role as a mentor, a speaker, a voice for the voiceless, yet she remained grounded, aware of the ongoing work within herself. The scars of her past, though fading, still surfaced occasionally, reminders of the battles fought, the demons confronted. But now she faced those challenges with newfound strength, with unwavering self-belief, and with the unwavering support of Jason and the ever-expanding program community. One day, during a meeting with his business partners, a longtime colleague, an executive who'd witnessed Jason's meteoric rise in the financial world, posed a question that had been lingering unspoken for months. Jason, he began, his voice tinged with curiosity and a hint of skepticism, what motivated you to start all this? You had everything you could ever want. Why risk it all diving into this world of social work? Jason, who once defined himself by his financial achievements, paused, considering the question with a depth of reflection he hadn't possessed before his encounter with Sarah. He looked at the executive, a serene smile gracing his lips, and answered with quiet conviction. What motivated me, he said, his voice resonating with sincerity, was realizing that the true value of my life wasn't in what I possessed, but in what I could do for others. He paused, his gaze distant, remembering Sarah's haunted eyes in that Lower East Side doorway. Sarah showed me that. She made me realize that all the success in the world means nothing if you're not using it to improve the lives of those around you. His response, simple yet profound, encapsulated the essence of his transformation. The profound shift in values, the newfound purpose that had blossomed from a chance encounter, a platinum credit card, and the enduring power of human compassion. As the day drew to a close, Jason, reflecting on the extraordinary journey of the past months, felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. He'd set out to help Sarah, an act of impulsive generosity, and in doing so, had stumbled upon a purpose that had redefined his life, his values, his very definition of success. His life, once hollow despite its material abundance, was now overflowing with meaning, with connection, with the profound satisfaction of making a tangible difference in the world. His legacy, he now understood, wouldn't be measured in dollars and cents, but in lives transformed, in hope rekindled, in the enduring impact of a single act of kindness. The transformative journey of Jason and Sarah, intertwined and inseparable, marked not just a personal evolution, but the genesis of a powerful social movement. The program, born from a chance encounter and a platinum credit card, had blossomed into a force for change, impacting hundreds, soon to be thousands of lives. But beyond the numbers, beyond the statistics, lay the profound, intimate stories of individual redemption, of shattered lives rebuilt, of human potential unleashed. And at the heart of it all remained the unwavering bond between Jason and Sarah, a testament to the power of human connection, the enduring strength of the human spirit, and the transformative magic that can bloom from the most unexpected encounters. Their story, a modern-day fairy tale woven from the grit and glamour of New York City, was a living example that true transformation wasn't just material or financial, but spiritual, emotional, and profoundly, irrevocably human. One evening, Sarah received an invitation to a gala honoring community leaders who had made significant contributions to vulnerable populations. She was being recognized as a key figure in the program's success, lauded for her own remarkable journey of overcoming adversity, and celebrated as an inspiration to countless others. Standing before a ballroom filled with philanthropists, politicians, and social activists, Sarah, once invisible, now stood in the spotlight, a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of second chances. "I am not a hero," she began, her voice clear, steady, yet tinged with emotion, the microphone trembling slightly in her hand. "I'm just a woman who was fortunate enough to find someone who believed in me, even when I'd lost faith in myself." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the audience, her words resonating with quiet power. "Everything I've achieved since that day," she continued, "is because I was given a chance. And that's what we need to remember. We all have the capacity to rise again, to heal, to rebuild. Sometimes, all we need is an opportunity and someone to believe in us." A wave of applause erupted, filling the ballroom, a collective acknowledgement of Sarah's courage, her vulnerability, her profound message of hope. Visibly moved, Sarah's eyes sought out Jason, seated in the front row, his gaze fixed on her with unwavering pride. This moment, she knew, wasn't just about her individual recognition, but a celebration of the program, of the community, of the transformative power of human connection. Later that evening, when Jason was called to the stage to accept his own award, he kept his remarks brief, his words carrying a weight of sincerity that resonated deeply with the audience. "When I found Sarah on the street," he began, his voice firm yet filled with emotion, "I wasn't just offering help. I was searching for something myself, something I had lost." He paused, his gaze turning towards Sarah, his eyes locking with hers, a silent acknowledgement of their shared journey. "She taught me," he continued, his voice thickening with emotion, "that no matter how much wealth, how much power we accumulate, true wealth lies in what we do for others. What started as an impulsive act of generosity," he gestured towards Sarah, "has become a lifelong mission, and for that, I am eternally grateful." In that shared glance across the crowded ballroom, Jason and Sarah communicated volumes, a silent language of gratitude, respect, and a profound, unspoken love. It wasn't just gratitude for help given and received, but a mutual recognition of the transformative power of their reunion, the unexpected purpose they had found, the lives they were now, together, dedicated to changing. From that night forward, Jason made a conscious decision to shift his priorities, to dedicate more of his time, his energy, his vast resources to social work, to the program that had become his passion, his purpose. He delegated more and more of his corporate responsibilities, entrusting his business empire to capable hands, freeing himself to focus on expanding the program, ensuring its long-term sustainability, its enduring legacy. Sarah, in turn, embraced her role as a voice for the voiceless, a tireless advocate for the homeless. She continued to speak at events, to share her story, to lobby for policy changes, to champion programs that offered not just charity, but dignity, opportunity, and a pathway to self-sufficiency. Her work within the program, her unwavering commitment to its mission, solidified her position as a social leader. Her voice amplified, her message heard across diverse platforms. But the most profound transformation occurred in their personal lives. Sarah, once burdened by shame, haunted by fear, now walked with her head held high, her eyes radiating confidence, her spirit unbowed. She knew her worth wasn't defined by her past hardships, but by her resilience, her strength, her unwavering commitment to helping others. Jason, too, had undergone a metamorphosis, shedding the hollow pursuit of material success, embracing a life of purpose, of impact, of genuine human connection. The emptiness that had once gnawed at him had been replaced by a sense of fulfillment, a deep-seated satisfaction that transcended any boardroom triumph. Their journey, of course, wasn't without its ongoing challenges. Sarah still grappled with moments of insecurity, remnants of her deeply ingrained trauma. Jason continued to navigate the complexities of balancing his corporate empire with his burgeoning social responsibilities. But what sustained them, what fueled their unwavering commitment, was the certainty that they were on the right path, their lives finally aligned with a purpose larger than themselves. As the gala drew to a close, the ballroom lights dimming, the crowd dispersing, Sarah and Jason remained for a moment, alone in the echoing space. They turned to face each other, their eyes meeting, a silent understanding passing between them, a recognition of the extraordinary journey they had undertaken, the countless lives they had touched, the profound transformation they had both experienced. Sarah smiled, a warm, radiant smile that illuminated her face, and whispered, "Thank you, Jason, for never giving up on me." Jason returned her smile, his eyes filled with emotion. "No, Sarah," he replied, his voice soft, sincere. "Thank you. You showed me what truly matters in life." And in that quiet moment, amidst the fading echoes of applause, they knew with unwavering certainty that their journey together was far from over. The path ahead might be challenging, uncertain, but they were ready to face it. Side by side, their lives forever intertwined, their hearts united by a shared purpose, a love born from adversity, forged in compassion, and destined to transform not just their own lives, but the lives of countless others. In the months and years that followed, the bond between Jason and Sarah deepened, evolving in ways neither had initially foreseen. What began as a chance reunion, fueled by regret and a shared desire for redemption, blossomed into a profound friendship, and eventually into something far more profound. Their connection, forged in the crucible of Sarah's transformation journey, transcended mere partnership in the rehabilitation program, or even the rekindled embers of childhood friendship. Gradually, almost imperceptibly at first, Jason recognized that his feelings for Sarah extended beyond admiration, beyond respect, beyond even deep friendship. He was falling in love. He found himself drawn to her unwavering compassion, her quiet strength, her infectious spirit that had somehow managed to survive years of unimaginable hardship. She wasn't just someone he had helped. She was someone who made him feel whole, complete, understood in a way he'd never experienced before. Her dedication to the program, her tireless advocacy for the homeless, her unwavering belief in human potential only deepened his admiration, his respect, and his burgeoning love. Sarah, too, felt an undeniable pull towards Jason, a warmth, a security, a connection that resonated deep within her soul. He wasn't just the wealthy benefactor who had offered her a lifeline. He was a man of immense generosity, of unwavering integrity, who had been willing to change, to grow, to open his heart to a world beyond the confines of his gilded cage. His presence was a constant source of comfort, of strength, of unwavering support. But she'd never dared to imagine it could be more. Their love story unfolded organically, quietly, amidst the daily grind of the rehabilitation program, amidst the shared triumphs and setbacks, amidst the countless lives they were working to transform. Their conversations, initially focused on program logistics and strategic planning, gradually deepened, encompassing personal reflections, shared vulnerabilities, quiet moments of laughter, and unspoken confidences. They knew each other deeply, intimately, aware of each other's strengths and weaknesses, their hopes and fears, their driving motivations, and their deepest vulnerabilities. Jason, always the pragmatist, the controlled businessman, was the first to acknowledge, to himself at least, the undeniable truth. He was in love with Sarah. He'd never experienced anything like this before, a feeling so genuine, so grounded, so utterly devoid of superficiality. He knew Sarah had endured unimaginable pain, carried deep emotional scars. The love he felt for her wasn't a fleeting infatuation. It was a profound, abiding connection, a desire to protect, to cherish, to build a life together. On a quiet evening, far removed from the opulent settings that usually defined his life, Jason decided to take the leap, to express the depth of his feelings, to ask Sarah to share her life with him. He planned a simple dinner at a small Italian restaurant in Greenwich Village, a cozy, intimate setting far from the distractions of the city, a space for honesty, for vulnerability, for a conversation that would change the course of their lives forever. Sarah, unsuspecting, arrived at the restaurant, surprised by the understated elegance, by the nervous energy radiating from Jason. Over dinner, they talked, as they often did, about the program, about the lives they were touching, about the ongoing challenges and the small victories that fueled their passion. But beneath the surface, a different current flowed, an undercurrent of unspoken emotion, a palpable tension that hung in the air. As the evening drew to a close, Jason reached across the table, taking Sarah's hand in his touch sending a jolt of electricity through her veins. He looked into her eyes, his gaze more intense, more vulnerable than she'd ever seen it. "Sarah," he began, his voice soft, earnest, his words carefully chosen. "Over these past months, I've watched you transform. I've witnessed your strength, your courage, your extraordinary heart." He paused, taking a deep breath, his gaze unwavering. "And during this time," he continued, his voice thickening with emotion, "I've realized I can't imagine my life without you. You haven't just changed your life, Sarah. You've changed mine." Sarah's breath hitched, her eyes widening in surprise, in disbelief, in a dawning realization that mirrored her own unspoken feelings. Jason's words, raw and honest, resonated deep within her soul, confirming a truth she'd barely dared to acknowledge, even to herself. Jason continued, his voice now filled with a quiet intensity. "I know our journey has been unconventional, to say the least, full of challenges, unexpected turns, but I believe," he said, his gaze locking with hers, "I believe it's all led us to this moment. I don't want to just walk beside you, Sarah, as a friend, as a partner in our work. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, as your companion, your husband." He paused, his heart pounding in his chest, and asked the question that hung suspended in the air, heavy with unspoken emotion. Will you marry me?" Silence descended, thick and pregnant with possibility. Sarah stared at Jason, tears